Oleg, I want to come back to you for a second. I'm wondering if you can speak to the changing landscape around data. Obviously, there's that California, the CCPA law that goes into effect January 1st. GDPR is already in effect. The notion that these laws are still evolving, that they are removing bad actors, but they're still coming into their own. We're seeing more laws at the state level. We're seeing grumblings in the U.S. About data privacy laws on a federal level. So, how does this changing landscape, the current one, and then kind of how it looks in the future around data and data privacy laws, how does that affect agencies and the data ecosystem as a whole?
Yes, it shrinks the pool. But if the pool is bad to begin with, is that a bad thing? So from the standpoint of a marketer, I think this should only just refocus them on what they should be doing to create that first party data set for themselves. And very importantly, to still get that scale partner with others in the marketplace who have their own first party data to become the marketer's second party data. So I think this is a great exercise. We'll have to get through it. GDPR last year we had a bit of a kind of shock to the system in Europe, but lasted a couple of weeks when we all of a sudden realized there was no inventory to buy in certain places. But then we recovered because the proper data became available, and then inventory was matched to it, and we were able to continue doing what we're doing.
And you spoke to it during our conversation previously, just about how, yes, it's cleaning up the pool, but as an agency, you need the skill set to understand dimensional data, and you can't just trust someone who says,
"Oh, absolutely." And that kind of goes back to the initial point that we made in this webinar. It's the skill sets required to understand what is the quality data to begin with.
Right.
And what questions do you have to ask as a planner? And by the way, what is the proper skill set of a planner moving forward to be able to do that? So understanding where the data is coming from, who manages it, how often is being refreshed and updated, is absolutely critical element of a planner's decisioning on what data sources to use to decide what audiences to go after.
Just something that Oleg said that I completely agree with, and I sort of want to highlight is the consumer side, right? Is the transparency that these laws are basically demanding us as data collectors to be transparent to the end consumer. Now, we know in reality, some of those consumers will not read those things, and they'll just click past it. But for those in younger generations who are more cognizant of what data is, how it's being collected, and what it's being used for, I think it's really important that there's a lot of that transparency. And these laws are pushing us to get better, us being data collectors.
No, right. So, we have to give them a choice, because some consumers are more open to sharing their data with the world. Like, look at social media. Some people just post their entire lives and they're comfortable with it. Some people are more protective of it. Giving the option and the choice is part of, I think, that trust that just needs to remain between the marketer and the end consumer.